Bangwanani Malelepo Fukenjani Krikwaswana ve Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Betty, and these are some of the top stories we'll be looking at this morning. 130 people die at Sudan hospital amid city siege. Kenya scientists race to create anti-venom as snakebite victims grow. And we'll be having a look at South Africa as the nation heads to elections tomorrow. Stay with us. We'll also talk to Mike Sichula as he brings us the news stories from Zambia. However, it's your top stories after the break.
Introducing 061 Express, brought to you by Synergy in proud partnership with Vintuk Express. Here's your chance to make your voice heard to celebrate the businesses that make Vintuk exceptional. From your favorite coffee spot to the salon that always gets your style just right. It's time to shine a spotlight on the gems of our city. Over the next 8 weeks, it's your chance to vote for your favorites to recognize the best of the best. Nominations open on the 21st of April and close on the 5th of May. To nominate your favorite business, simply save this number, 085 785 6231, and WhatsApp hashtag 061 Express or scan the QR code below and follow the on-screen instructions. By nominating your favorites, you're not only supporting local businesses, but you also stand a chance to win your share of 50,000 Namibian dollars in cash. The voting process will be the same as the nominations process, using the Synergy chatbot and the hashtag 061 Express. Voting opens on June 5th and closes on June 23rd. Make sure to cast your votes for the best of the best. The winners will be announced on June 28th. 061 Express, celebrating the heartbeat of Vintuk. Get ready to make your mark.
Let's get into our top stories. Over 130 people have died at a single hospital in Sudan's besieged city of Al Fasher in the Darfur region, according to medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières. Fighting between rival groups in Sudan's civil war in the battle for control of the city has recently intensified. The situation was terrible, one resident told the BBC, with hospitals and markets experiencing violent artillery shelling. Al Fasher is the last major urban center in Darfur that remains in the hands of Sudan's army. The army has been fighting the paramilitary rapid support forces for more than a year in a civil war that has killed thousands and forced millions from their homes. The army remains in control of Al Fasher. The city has become a refuge for people displaced by fighting in other areas. On 10 May, the RSF intensified their assault on the city in what UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called an alarming new chapter. Now, according to the Institute of Primate Research in Kenya, about 20,000 people are bitten by snakes annually in the country. Among these cases, an estimated 4,000 result in fatalities, while 7,000 individuals experience paralysis or suffer from various health complications as a consequence of snake bites. According to KSRIC, about 60% of snakebite victims do not seek hospital treatment, opting instead for ineffective traditional methods. Kenya imports antivenom from Mexico and India. However, 50% of the imported antivenoms are ineffective. Antivenoms are mostly region-specific, meaning those produced from venoms in one region might not effectively treat snake bites in a different region. KSRIC, in collaboration with the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, is actively working on developing an antivenom aimed at significantly reducing deaths from snake bites. Tomorrow, South Africans will vote in national and provincial elections. In fact, it's been happening throughout the week. Yesterday, people with disabilities cast their votes. However, this is to elect a new National Assembly and state legislatures. The National Assembly will choose the president for the next 5 years. It will be the country's 7th democratic general election since apartheid ended in 1994, when Nelson Mandela was elected president, with the ANC winning 62.5% of the 400 seats in the National Assembly. After 30 years of dominance, the African National Congress faces its toughest election yet, needing 50% of the National Assembly to maintain its parliamentary majority. A total of 23,292 polling stations will be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., with Election Day declared a public holiday to facilitate voting. According to the Electoral Commission of South Africa, 27.79 million South Africans aged 18 and above have registered for the elections this year, up from 26.74 million in 2019. Registered voters living abroad cast their votes on May 17 and 18, and voters with special needs, including pregnant women and people with disabilities, have already begun casting their ballots on Monday, 2 days before Election Day. Now, Mozambican health professionals announced the extension of their strike for a further 30 days due to the lack of consensus in negotiations, accusing the government of intensifying threats to the class. Talks are taking place with the government, but the iron arm prevails as it insists on not presenting concrete guarantees as to when it will comply with the June and August 2023 agreements signed during negotiations. Secretary General of the Association of United and Solidary Health Professionals of Mozambique, Sheila Chikwela, told a press conference in Maputo. At issue is a strike called almost a month ago by APSUSM, which covers around 65,000 health professionals from different departments of the national health system, with the exception of donors. Chikwela said that the class wanted the government to present deadlines for compliance with agreements already reached during negotiations, especially with regard to the provision of hospital medical supplies and improvement of workers' conditions. The official again accused the government of intensifying threats to health professionals, resorting to arbitrary transfers to more distant health units. Now, a former German soldier has been sentenced to 3.5 years in jail for sharing secret military information with Russia in the wake of the outbreak of the war in Ukraine. A court in Düsseldorf had found the defendant, named only as Thomas H., guilty of passing on information on his initiative from his post in the military procurement service. In handing the sentence, judges noted that Thomas had no prior offenses on his record, had not benefited materially from helping Russia, and was in poor health at the time he did so. The 54-year-old had admitted the crime during his trial, claiming he was hoping to obtain information in return that would help him get his family to safety in time in the event of the conflict escalating into a nuclear war. The espionage case is one of several uncovered in Germany since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Prosecutors had accused Thomas of photographing old training documents related to munition systems and aircraft technology and dropping the material through the letterbox of the Russian consulate in Bonn. The defendant approached the Russian General Consulate in Bonn and the Russian Embassy in Berlin and offered his cooperation in May 2023, prosecutors said. Thomas admitted at the opening of his trial in April that the accusations against him were broadly accurate. He said his concern about a possible escalation in the war in Ukraine led him to reach out to the Russian side. More precisely, he was worried about the possibility that deliveries of heavy weapon systems by Berlin to Ukraine would draw Germany into the conflict. Those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, I'll talk to Mike Sichula as he brings us the latest news stories from Zambia.
E-Ticket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nhom.na.
All right, it's time for us to talk to Mike Sichula. Mike, Muribwanji.
Tiribuino Muribwanji, Africa. Good morning to our dear viewers.
Tiribuino. Mike, tell us about the missing lawmaker who has been found.
Yes, Mr. Emmanuel Banda, popularly known as JJ, disappeared 2 days ago when he was moving from one house of his wife to another in the wee hours of 25th May this year. So when that incident happened, police and his supporters, mainly of the opposition political party, the Patriotic Front, besieged the police station where his vehicle was towed for safekeeping. Then, because of people did not know what happened, because when his vehicle was found with hazards on, they found all his mobile phones were intact. Then there was also a message that is purported to have been written by him, where he was apologizing to Zambians to say, Zambians, I'm sorry for whatever I might have done, and something like that. So because of that, it was not clear what happened, whether he was taken by a silent or he was just taken or he had disappeared on himself. So there has been a lot of blame game from the ruling and the governing, where the governing is blaming the opposition of having a hand in his disappearance. Then also the opposition is also blaming the government of having a hand in his disappearance. So he was fortunately discovered yesterday in another district, Kafio district, at a farm where he was found unconscious. Then he had bruises of what is believed to have been maybe screwdrivers that he was the assailant used to inflict injuries on him. Then he also had some bruises on his back. Then also again, when he was taken to a private hospital, police officers moved in to get him to a military hospital. And when they were trying to move him, there was a lot of commotion between the family and the police. Then a brief background about him. At one point, when the PF were in power, the same parliamentarian beat up police officers at a police station. Then at some time, he was also accused of having led a group of supporters to beat up a journalist whom was actually urinated into his mouth. So there are a lot of theories surrounding his disappearance, but the government says he's now in a stable condition and everything is being taken care of.
All right, Mike, now a Zambian Professor Cephas Lumbina has been elected to the United Nations Committee on Rights of the Child. Tell us more.
Yeah, this is something that this was during an election held at the UN headquarters on 23rd May. Professor Lumina, who specializes in international human rights and law, is an advocate of the High Court of Zambia. He garnered 134 votes. He was amongst the 9 members elected to the committee to serve a 4-year term from 2025 to 2029. Then Professor Lumina was among the 5 candidates who were endorsed by the African Union. Then, speaking after the elections, Zambia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Dr. Chola Mirambo, said the election of Professor Lumina is an achievement for Zambia and underscores the commitment the country has in the field of child rights and welfare. So this is what the government has been able to say on the election of Professor Lumina.
All right, now Mike, Zambia has recorded a 26% increase in tourist arrivals. That's very good news.
It is very good news because the goal that the Zambia Tourism Agency has set is to hit over 2 million tourists this year, compared to last year's 1 million 4,000 international tourists that arrived into the country last year. So Zambia Tourism Agency Chief Executive Officer Matongo Mwatamwandi has attributed the increase of tourists in Zambia to government efforts in marketing the country abroad, and also the Zambia's establishment of its own airline, Zambia Airways, and also the Zambia's having the ability to host international conferences, because almost every month Zambia is hosting an international conference either in Lusaka or Livingstone. So these are some of the attributes that another trade expert, Gilbert Nkamba said the increase in tourism is post-COVID is a positive trajectory for the economy, and also added that there's need to open up more tourism attractions in the northern circuit, where there are a lot of waterfalls, but the only waterfalls that is predominantly known in Zambia is Victoria Falls. But when you go to the northern circuit, there are a number of waterfalls that usually do not dry.
All right, that's certainly good news and a good trajectory for Zambia's tourism industry. Now, Mike, Chipolopolo boys Avram Grant has denied accusations of biased team selection.
Yes, he held a media briefing yesterday, like I did report the other day that Fashion Sakara did cause a social media storm when he accused the Israeli coach of having biased selection. So when he held the media briefing yesterday, Mr. Avram Grant categorically denied the allegations by Fashion Sakara, and that he tried to get him to join a named agent. He said whatever Fashion Sakara told the reported on social media are all lies. Then he also said that he does not have any issue with Fashion Sakala, and the door is always open should he take responsibility for his mistakes in future. Then he also did tell the media that he was not pleased with Fashion Sakala's attitude at the Africa Cup, especially in the match against Morocco, where Fashion Sakala started on the bench. But when the coach explained, he said that Fashion Sakala gave the coach a certain face, which according to him was a bad attitude towards the national duty. So, and he also did tell the media that it is not only Fashion Sakala that he sent audio messages about why they have not been picked to the team. He sent the audio messages to about 5 other players, and those 5 other players, 4 of them got back to the coach asking what they needed to do in order for them to be in the national team, and the coach advised, and those players have since been part of the team. But Fashion Sakala never got to the coach to ask why did you drop me, what should I improve on, and so on and so forth. So this is the state of affairs. As we speak, Fashion Sakala looks that he will not be part of the national team that will face Morocco and Tanzania in the 2026 World Cup qualifying matches.
Very bold decision there. Thank you, Mike, for bringing us the news stories from Zambia.
Thank you very much. Africa, good morning to our dear viewers.
Africa, good morning indeed. We're going to head over to the weather predictions before we return with your economic news.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
In economic news, the Ackerman family, which founded South Africa's Pick n Pay, will relinquish control of the struggling retailer as part of a revamp aimed at stemming losses, cutting debt and regaining market share. Gareth Ackerman will also retire as chairman after 14 years in the job and 40 years at the company, though he will stay on to support management until next year's annual results. Now, telecom firm MTN Uganda plans to sell shares left over from its deeply undersubscribed 2021 initial public offering to local investors to expand local ownership and comply with regulatory requirements, it said. The Uganda unit of South Africa's MTN Group has received regulatory approval for the extra share sale, MTN Uganda said in a statement published in the East African newspaper. Let's have a look at the indicators before we return with the sport.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours.
All right, in sports, the NBA playoffs are currently happening. The Dallas Mavericks are on the brink of making it to the final with one win needed against Minnesota Timberwolves. However, Boston Celtics have booked their place in the final. Derek White had missed 7 of 8 three-point attempts when he found himself open in the right corner of the floor in the final minute of a tie game with an NBA Finals berth at stake. He watched Jaylen Brown handle the ball and was just waiting for his Boston Celtics teammate to deliver a pass. Once Brown did just that, it was White's turn to make a play, and he did. Jaylen Brown scored 29 points and Jason Tatum added 26 points, 13 rebounds and 8 assists as the top-seeded Celtics landed a spot in the finals for the second time in the past 3 seasons. Now let's talk some tennis. Rafael Nadal exited what could be his last French opening into an outpouring of love and support with a first-round defeat by Alexander Zverev, wishing to be back at Roland Garros for Paris 2024 Olympics. And lastly, Cristiano Ronaldo capped his first full Saudi Pro League season in style as he broke the record for the most goals scored in one campaign. Let's get into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. 130 people died at Sudan hospital amid city siege. Kenyan scientists race to create anti-venom as snakebite victims grow. And Ackerman family seized control of South Africa's Pick n Pay in revamp. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. Thank you very much for joining us. From me and the Africa Good Morning team, Suraja Kanaka.